guys, welcome back to the CSTE Corner. Yay! We're here with our guest,
Tim Attewell.
Yay! So Tim, go ahead by introducing yourself and talking a little bit about your role at Covolta.
Okay, that should be easy. Let's see. I'm Tim. I'm the founder at Covolta, and the company's main thing is distributing small portable batteries that ideally help to prevent blackouts by relieving the power grid. Failing that, they work as backup power for whoever's home they're in at the time. And they're portable. They can power your camping excursions and stuff like that too.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like to do, maybe a little bit of your background?
Yeah. You know, I born and raised in Pennsylvania, and I did actually film school in Chicago before moving to engineering. You guys are film students, right?
I'm a film student.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
And you are?
I'm a kid major, but I really do love film.
Yeah.
I've been on a few sets myself.
Okay, yeah. That was kind of the first passion. Well, on the engineering side, when I was younger, I would take apart electronics until my parents were worried that I was going to get shocked, so they took the electronics away. And then that's how I ended up skewing towards art for a while. I'd make little animations for my friends and movies and stuff like that. And after enough of that, I went to Chicago and got a film degree. Really took a liking to writing and also the thankless job of assistant directing, which you might be familiar with.
I get that, though.
Yeah.
I haven't had a lot of experience there, but just because running the floor is really fun
Yeah.
to me.
The thing that appealed to me is I got to, shout quiet on set, roll camera.
Yeah.
That was really enjoyable. So I ended up being kind of the only guy at my school who was saying, instead of I want to direct or produce, I was saying I want to be an assistant director, which helped me work a ton. And then, so it's kind of natural after school, you end up in LA, and that was a whole other whirlwind. Anyway, I worked on a survival reality show up in Alaska for a little bit. And then that kind of tuckered me out. I switched to writing books. I promise I'm almost done. I would write my own sci-fi, and then for work, I would ghostwrite for other people. And then the last shift was to electrical engineering. And that got me here.
Okay. I see it like a pattern of like changes in your curriculum? No. In your life, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
And so how have you been able to do those changes, to make that decision to make those changes in your life?
They've been, the change from film and television to books was pretty natural. While I was on that Alaska show, I met this guy who had this incredible life story, and I asked him if I could write his biography. So that segued perfectly into ghostwriting. Engineering is a further swing. I just started noticing I was pretty disciplined about sitting down to write my own stuff, but if there was one thing that was going to stop me, it was some kind of recreational engineering project. If it's like an engineering-focused game, or if I coincidentally wanted to build a battery at home. So then at a certain point, I realized, one, engineering can be lucrative and way more stable than ghostwriting. So that was the initial thing, and then just the further I made it into the curriculum, the more I liked it. Definitely different. I mean, in Chicago, for my film degree, I took a geometry in the arts class, which was like, I drew stick figures and right triangles and stuff like that. So then getting thrown into calculus was pretty rough.
So fun, actually.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, first of all, congratulations. You
Thanks.
were the 2025 bull ring competition winner. So for everybody that doesn't know, Tim here owns a company that we will talk about in just a little bit, but we wanted to congratulate you, and tell us a little bit about Covolta.
Covolta, well, like I said, it's, we make small portable batteries. It's the main thing that I'm going for is, there's already like the huge like Tesla Powerwall, for example,
Yes.
for like homeowners and stuff like that. But there's nothing that serves that same purpose on a smaller scale. They do have, I'm sure you've seen like the kind of lunchbox sized things, but ours is slim and it's made to stay in your home plugged in when you're not, even when you're not camping or whatever, and kind of working for you and helping to lower your energy bill. I don't want to go too into the weeds on on electric bills and stuff like that, but there's a way it can charge when electricity isn't expensive and then use that charge when it is expensive.
That's good.
There are also other ways that, depending on the utility, they'll actually send out notices and say, hey, we'll pay you X amount if you reduce your consumption by this amount during this time tomorrow. So we're really trying to push in that direction instead of I know I keep mentioning camping, but camping and blackouts is the typical use, but I really want something that can just stay and keep working.
I feel like that's really prevalent now just because a lot of people are going to like festivals and they're doing like the camping at the festival grounds, the RV. So I feel like that's like a good use for a lot of people, especially this day and age. So
right, RVs come up a lot.
RVs.
That's perfect.
That's perfect.
I don't want to drive one, but I'd like to.
And I remember your presentation at the Bullring. You were talking about how, well, now with the rise of AI, I think you mentioned that that's taking a lot of power. So you need to like reduce the amount of power.
Yeah.
Am I mistaken?
No, you got it. And that's the thing. There are so many things being pitched and new companies sprouting up, and they're all around AI, but that energy kind of needs to come from somewhere. It's expected to double in the next 5 years, the consumption of these data centers, and it's already pretty high. So that's, a battery this big isn't going to power a data center, but it'll help in that residential area, kind of relieve the pressure on the grid. And then again, like if the grid does go out, people have backup. Ideally for their crucial appliances like their refrigerators or I live in an apartment with a window AC unit, and that thing does not keep up. So if you lose it for an hour, you're not getting that cool back. So I'd love something that could just bridge that gap. Basically, the whole company is an elaborate ploy for me to get the battery that I want.
And this brings me to my next point. How did you come up with this idea of Covolta? What made you think of this specifically?
It was even back when I was still ghostwriting, before I went back to school for engineering. I had the app on my phone. It's called California ISO, I think, or CAISO. Anyway, they let you monitor California's energy supply and demand, and I love data like that. And you can see how much is coming from hydroelectric, how much is from solar, and how much is available overall. And so I saw.
I'm sorry, around the city or?
No, in California. You
California.
can like monitor the power grid.
Wow.
It's really cool.
Wait, what's the name again?
CAISO.
CAISO.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you pronounce it California or just CAISO.
CAISO. All right.
Probably California ISO.
I'll take a look. That's interesting.
So I saw have we talked about peak demand yet? Probably not. No, I lose track. Okay, so peak demand is the time every day that people get home from work. They turn on everything in their house, and it's like this crazy spike in demand. So that's why we only really need a small battery to address that issue, because it's that spike that decides how strong our power grid needs to be. So there are like entire power lines being kept, or power plants being kept online just to run for like 3 hours a day, just to satisfy that spike. So anyway, I saw in this app, I saw the spike, and it happens just as the sun is going down. So you're losing renewable energy, and people are using the most power. So that gap, it's weird. It just frustrated me. And I was like, man, yes, if people could delay it, or if you could save all that like wonderful solar energy in the afternoon and then use it during that like spike, it'd be amazing. So then that was part one, and part two was the gap next to my refrigerator that's like 6 inches wide and is stuffed with shopping bags, and the other side has, like, it's not doing anything. And I was like, man, the refrigerator consumes so much energy. You could put something right there and then just take the refrigerator off the grid. I've since kind of expanded beyond refrigerator, but that's kind of how it started.
That's so good. So how did you find out about the bull ring competition?
I talked to our guy Kenny over there, first of all, but it started with a thing called air flare, and I'm gonna embarrass myself by talking about this idea. It was, have you seen those adventure, those rescue flares?
Yeah.
That you pull a thing and like a light shoots up, and movies like using because it's beautiful light and stuff like that. I was like, there is not an electronic version of this. We have drones, but we don't have something that's like just as compact, and you pop it open and has propellers, it spins up and blinks. And I was like, this is gonna make me a millionaire.
Okay. It doesn't sound that to me.
So I filed a provisional patent. I was 3D printing parts for a prototype. I went through all these iterations, and then since I'm an engineering student, I went to the head of the engineering department, and I started talking about patents and stuff like that. And I quickly realized that's just not their thing. That's more business, I found out. So it was a bunch of, honestly, I think Google, of course, was the thing that got me to the university's business school. So anyway, I approached Kenny with that, like, here's a picture, here's a 3D rendering, I filed the provisional patent, what do you think? And it was like, all right, let's see. And then I joined Tim Tieman's Innovation Core program.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is customer discovery. And I ended up calling around and talking to this survivalist guy in Georgia named Big Red. And I was like, if this guy doesn't want the flare, then no one does. And he totally didn't. He was like, you're not supposed to like call someone and say like, I'm making this thing, would you buy it? You're supposed to talk to them about like pain points and what they wish they had and hope they mention it on their own. And after 40 minutes of talking to Big Red, I was like, all right, here's what I was hoping you were gonna say. Anyway, that took me off of the air flare, officially dead, and I returned to this old battery idea that I had like before I went back to engineering, or went back to school for engineering.
Oh wow!
What was the question about? We talking bull ring?
Yeah.
Okay. So then
amazing. Like that's yeah.
So the battery idea is what led, between talking to Kenny and Tim Tiemann and then Ryan, kind of found out that bull ring was a good spot for it.
Nice. How was that experience, like leading up to it, the prep for it?
It was so nice to be taking a break from the math in my engineering classes. Getting to make these beautiful slides and stuff like that and prepare a pitch. And it would be nerve-wracking at times, because then I found out that I was a semi-finalist right around the time that I thought the bottom had dropped out of my idea. And I was like, I need to have something to pitch here. It's technical, but long story short, figured it out in part because of mentorship that's given you in bull ring and different faculty in the school, even if they weren't directly associated with bull ring. So the structure and the validation as you like along the way, like when someone says, hey, you're a semifinalist, that kind of gives you the confidence you need. Yeah, it's like, okay, all right, I guess I should keep going on this. Okay. Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah. Is there anything that you learned that you really remembered from any of the mentors from bull ring?
Yeah, my mentor was a guy named John Coe, who I'm still in touch with, and it was perfect because he has his own green energy company.
Oh, nice.
He was interesting in that he was willing to crush my dreams in a great way. Like, he was a realist, which is, caused one of those moments of I was like, this is never going to work. But then, of course, this semester, I've never heard the word pivot more than this semester. It's just a huge part of it.
Not even on Friends?
Yeah. Oh, wow, good reference.
I love when people get my
Incredible.
references.
Oh, my God, Ross, yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
I totally like...
No, that's close second. I think Friends is close second. But, yeah, so John kind of taught me that of, no, this isn't the end of the world. This is, it's an engineering challenge for you now. And that was kind of, that first time I pivoted so much that I was like spinning like a top. And then after I came out of that one, I was like, okay, that's the last time I react to a problem that way, because it was extreme. I was like coming up with whole new products and stuff like that. And then kind of had to like settle down. And again, John, even though he kind of like wrecked my world at first, he helped build it up too, which was huge.
Yeah, I think like you had a realization, like did you learn how to deal with those like pivots in your life? Like, did it make you find those challenges easier as you went on the road?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think part of pivoting is like resilience, right? And writing your own sci-fi and getting ignored by 15 agents or so, that the resilient definitely comes into play there. So I kind of had was that your question? I think so. Yeah.
Like, how did you learn to deal with those changes and those like rejections, all the challenges that come with starting a business that is really a hard thing? Not everybody. It's something like you were saying. You have to be very resilient to start a business. That's what we have found out with this podcast.
Right.
And like, so like how, that's like how did you know how to deal with those problems?
A lot of it was prior career.
Yeah.
I think you're a film major. Have you seen Slumdog Millionaire?
Which one?
Slumdog Millionaire?
I haven't.
Oh, it's good. His whole life prepares him for winning a competition. Anyway, there were times that it felt like that because there was resilience from working in the arts, and there was discipline involved. And I wasn't like I just got done saying, I still like struggled during Bull Ring, but I think I was kind of set up to succeed or like being an assistant director, for example. That is stress, so I had developed an immune response to it, I guess. I don't know.
It's good. I think those like skills that you had before really transferred into everything that you're doing now, because I feel like with like that resilience from like being a creative person and like putting that into like this STEM business field, it's all like coherent. So
that's how I feel.
Yeah, good. I love that.
Good.
I love that because as someone who is a STEM major, but their passion is like in the arts and culture, but my current career right now, like I'm working in business, I feel like CSUN's such a great opportunity where you have the ability to like do anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I discovered this semester, being able to step over to another college in the university with an idea that started in engineering and being received so well too, it's been awesome. And
you talked about the I-Corps. So how did that help you as well? Because they're pretty different, I-Corps and the Red Bull Ring program.
Yeah.
Well, maybe explain to the viewers what I-Corps is for those who don't understand.
Right. So I-Corps, Innovation Corps, is the can I address hi. So it's a program where you bring in your idea, your company, or your product. Maybe it's air flare, for instance, and they work with you to see, is this a product that the world wants? And the main way to do that is through customer discovery and just kind of getting out there and talking to people.
Nice.
Well,
not to make any promotions.
Well, it was great. 'Cause honestly, like Tim was a huge part of that. He wasn't like the guy who runs it, Tim Tiemann. He wasn't directly affiliated with the bull ring, but if things were going wrong with bull ring, I could go into I-Corps and be like, I got problems. and Tim would still talk me through it too, because he understands it. It's within his world. It's just not like his program specifically.
Oh, that's nice. You have like a lot of mentors from like different areas of the school, which is great.
And I need them.
Yeah. So do you have any plans with the winnings that you've received from bull ring yet? Like the grand prize was $10,000?
Yeah.
$10,000? Do you have any idea like how to improve your startup journey and how this impacts your business?
It makes the first step possible, which is huge. I need to get a prototype together for the battery. I need to get something physical. And after I won bull ring, I tried to make one with like just what I had laying around at my house. I had batteries that I'd ripped out from a dead electric vehicle, like the cells, the individual cells. But when that didn't pan out, it's like, I need funding to get like actual parts, not things that got ripped out of a car.
Things that work.
I need things that work. Yeah, exactly. So it's been a lot of tech, and then I've been able to hire just on an independent contractor basis a consultant who knows that the whole green energy space and government incentives and rebates and stuff like that. So it's nice to have a professional helping me there too.
Yeah. And so what's your team like right now?
My team is me. And anyone who will listen to me complain, which is my wife, my sister, my friend Vetty, who is my partner in the bull ring. And then it's advisors and, anyone who will take a meeting with me.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think it's still more, like which part do you enjoy more? The engineering part, or are you starting to shift towards the business part?
The business part, there's so many different angles to it, and so I'd have to like break it down. I don't know. I've found it's kind of nice to be able to switch between things, because it's easy to get bored, especially when you're doing everything yourself, which I do not want to do forever, but it's nice to be able to like be at my desk and working with some electronics and like soldering wires, and then take a break to just have a meeting with someone and talk about like the overall vision. It's hard to get bored, honestly.
That's true.
It's nice.
You're too busy to get bored.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And sorry, go ahead.
What do you think is like the hardest part about everything so far?
Bull ring and everything, the business, and it's funny, I feel like I should have 8 answers to this. Knowing what to do, knowing that it's okay if there isn't like a path ahead, and just kind of like picking a direction through the woods to like stomp through until you find something. And dealing with, as soon as other people become involved, waiting. Like reasonable amounts of waiting, because then it's like I start frothing at the mouth and stuff like that.
It's like teamwork, having to rely on others.
Yeah.
And like, I can do this myself.
Yeah, and it's reasonable, like the guy, he's a consultant, he's not an employee, and we set a deadline, and I like it, and he likes it, but now I have to wait for him to deliver. Yeah.
All right, and what do you do to just calm yourself down? How do you plan ahead of time?
Wait, how do I calm down, or how do I plan it? Because planning ahead does not calm me down.
Okay, let's go one by one then. How do you calm yourself down in those periods of time?
Yeah, okay, when I'm waiting and stuff like that. Yeah.
Because I feel like that's something that happens to many entrepreneurs.
And actually, there in that context, there it is one and the same. I just have to pick a little thing to work on. I was mentioning before we started that I needed a larger 3D printer, and it takes a while to ship. I have a smaller one at home, so I can't print the batteries enclosure, but there's all these little pieces that will need to fit together, so I can just make sure that those little bits fit together, so that when the printer shows up, and it feels, when you know that there's this big thing coming that's going to do it all in one run, it feels I won't say meaningless, but it's, you know, it's,
Yeah.
but it just gives me something to do while I'm waiting for the next meeting, or it just lets me stay busy. I try not to just ruminate, which is, you know, tempting. I try not to just like sit and think about things to be stressed about. And so far, yeah, little things like that. Picking a little job just helps a ton.
Busy work.
Yeah, exactly.
We also had a question. Well, you mentioned in the bull ring that you were trying to work with the county or the state to
Yes.
do subsidies, right?
Yes.
How is that different from like like the business to customer experience?
Well, it was the most stressful part. Was trying to navigate it, and I'm actually moving away from that like reliance on the state program now. Like I have that consultant who's going to help with like incentives and you know, working with utilities, because if you save them money, then they're willing to like help with your product. But a huge thing going into Bullring was that like there was this state incentive, that the self-generation incentive program, that I was like, this is perfect. And then a few days after Bullring, I had already researched it, but then I started researching further, and it was just they had these requirements that it basically wasn't going to work. You know, like it was just prohibitively expensive to serve underprivileged communities with a small battery, which was the original goal. The incentive was clearly structured more for people in fire danger areas, for like larger batteries, like I was talking about, but not really Covoltas. So had to switch and pivot, right? Yeah. So now I'm back to customer discovery and stuff like that. And speaking of Tim, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow about where I am, and that old cycle starts again.
All right.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah, constant.
All right. Tell us a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey. What have you liked the most?
The getting to be creative has been so nice, and it comes in so many forms too. Like making a pitch deck is nice. You can make something that feels pretty, you know, choose your colors, and but then coming up with a product is creative too, and visualizing it, and and then writing the pitch. Also, it's like this amazing creative outlet. And that's been the best so far.
Awesome.
I love that. I feel like your creative spirit really like peeks through in your work, which I find really amazing. I recently heard this thing where it's like when creatives don't create,
They go insane.
they create problems.
Yeah.
When they don't have a creative outlet, they create problems.
Yes.
And I feel like that is so I was like, that was so real to me, because I was like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, you
I
need
feel cranky,
something.
and then I do a little arts and craft, and I'm fine.
Right, exactly.
So I think that's really nice.
Yeah, it's really important, even for people who don't view themselves as creative. I think
Yeah.
it's still like you should do it, you know,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
in some way.
It's a really good way to like de-stress, I feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of focuses your energy on something, and even if it's a drawing that you throw away, like it still, you know, it probably helps.
Yeah. So, what's next for Covolta?
Building the prototype is the huge focus right now. I'm at this point, more than like even connections or funding, I'm just valuing conversations, which comes in the form of mentorship or just talking with someone else who's in a similar situation. So it's getting to do a lot of the engineering work and then just conversing.
Yeah, I feel like you're focused a lot, which is great, because when people think about being an entrepreneur, they think about selling.
Yeah.
In many ways. But you're talking about customer discovery
Yes.
a lot. So that's really important, and I feel like it's a part that not many people, when they start, think about.
I didn't. Remember the flare?
Yeah, so
I was like, I'd buy this. This is perfect.
so
I had to learn that, yeah.
I mean, how much time you're putting into that will definitely reflect how good the product is and how successful it is.
Right, and it just makes pitching easier. Like when it comes time for a proper funding round, just being able to say, I talked to these people, here's what they want.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's what you see
better.
in Shark Tank.
Yeah,
You know, all those numbers. That's why all those numbers are like super important.
Oh my God! Since joining Bullring, the YouTube algorithm just nailed my interest, and I was getting Shark Tank shorts after Shark, and most of them, of course, the popular ones are people getting destroyed. So it was like
the clickbait.
Yeah. So it was nerve-wracking going into a CSUN's Shark Tank.
Would you ever consider going into Shark Tank?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
Bullring was like.
Yeah, it was practice, right?
It's in practice.
Yeah. Of course, I definitely would.
I feel like you really know your audience, which makes like the quality of your work very good because you're
Thank you.
catered to making sure it's for the right people.
Yeah.
It's for the people.
I try. Yeah.
I want to ask, did you always know that you wanted to do a product based on renewable energy? Or like, was that something that you were passionate about? I know you talked about, the app.
Yeah.
But even before that, like, was that something that you wanted to do, or did you just happen to see the opportunity?
That was a lot of the draw when I made the choice to go back to school.
For engineering.
Yeah, for engineering, right. It was, things like looking at that app and seeing, I'm an inefficiency nut and definitely green energy. I tried getting a movement started where on the first of every month you just shut off everything on your breaker, which of course is not practical. So I was like nuts in that way before I got realistic. And then, in my first, it was like engineering 101, basically. It wasn't at CSUN, it was an online school. The battery was the first thing. It was like my first assignment of my education was like coming up with a pitch deck for that. Looked totally different, but still, that was green energy. That was like the initial draw. But then, I hope I'm not rambling too much here.
No.
Yes.
But then after, once you spend more time around professors and researching engineering work, I kind of opened the horizon a little bit to anything in engineering, and it's kind of a relief that I'm back to green energy because that's what started the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's nice. That you.
Thanks.
That's how you started, and now you came back.
Yeah,
to it.
yeah, and it's working
It feels
out.
like
Yeah,
a good story to tell.
so far.
It's like I don't know if you've ever heard this theory of like the second meeting theory, where like it doesn't work out in the beginning, but after you meet the second time, it's like solidified, like it's meant to be. So it kind of feels like that, which is very sweet.
Right.
I
Yeah,
like it.
that is exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, could you do like a little pitch of your product? Because I feel like we've talked a lot about it, but maybe for the beginning, maybe we can do just like a brief pitch.
Maybe for those who missed Bullring.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, memorizing that thing. God, I don't know if you saw on the second slide, I like blanked. I turned around, I looked at the slide, and I was like, and then, okay, yeah, here's where you find out I'm more of an engineer than a businessman currently. But there's a problem right now with, especially with AI consuming a ton of energy, that our power grid is under an incredible amount of strain, which means threats to public safety and then blackouts, of course. And it isn't just the amount of power we have, it's what it needs to be pushed through the power lines that are like, power lines are just one thing, but very stressed right now. So Covolta's goal is to alleviate that stress and get some of that power into the home before that peak hour comes when everyone's using their energy. So trying to serve the grid and serve people.
And it's a battery.
That was okay. Did I? You know what it is? I'm losing track of what I've already said in the podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
I was like,
I'll work on it.
It's okay. The magic of editing.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Do you want to tip Tuesday?
Oh, yes. Can you give what's advice you would give to
Do you want to
beginning
restart?
entrepreneurs? Sorry. What's a piece of advice you would give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
I feel like I'm hardly in a position to offer advice yet. Maybe, yeah, I guess I am. Being flexible and ready to change without freaking out and reversing everything is, I just encourage you to kind of stick to your vision for as long as possible, and take breaks. It is a job that will always be in the back of your mind, and you need to like deliberately structure in breaks, even if they're short. Look after your mental health.
Absolutely.
That's a good one. I feel like that's one many tend to forget.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Definitely.
All right. Well, where can people find Covolta? What you guys are up to?
You can check out Covolta.com. That's the easy one. I just started the Instagram. Okay. You could go and see a blank page if you want. That's Covolta.power. Someone already stole Covolta and they're not using it. It's very frustrating. But anyway, Covolta.power, or go to Covolta.com, and there will be updates there.
All right. Anything else you want to tell the CSTEers? That's a term that we just created.
Wait.
I don't think it will stay. Let me do that again.
Sea sweeties.
Sea sweeties is nice.
Our sea sweeties.
Wait. Anything you want to tell the public that's listening to you right now?
No, just please go to the website and join our wait list so that I can show people are interested in this product. A lot of that research is gonna come over the summer, but I don't know. That's it. Stay healthy.
And can they contact you through that website?
Yes. Yeah. There's a form at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other ways of forms to contact you?
The website's best. Honestly, that goes straight to my inbox.
Okay.
Yeah. It's perfect.
All right. So with that, thank you so much, Tim, for coming today. It was a great chat. We will go to the next section. But yeah, thank you so much. That would be all for today. Don't forget to give a like, subscribe, and follow us for more. Bye.
Bye. See you next time.